So we'll say a few things about Rathayatra. And at the same time, that must be it must be connected to Bhagavatam. So what is Bhagavatam? What is Rathayatra? What is the connection between these two things? Where does all of this ultimately take us? What is the life of devotion? What is the life of surrender? These are the topics which constitute Harikatha. These are the topics which are found out throughout the Vedic literatures and literatures written in pursuit of the Vedic version, which also include the songs of our acharyas and so forth. So Bhagavatam Bhagavatam is a great mystery to most researchers of the Bhagavatam. They cannot seem to put their finger on what it is that the Bhagavatam is ultimately about. And therefore, most of the Vedic researchers prefer Upanishadic literature and original Vedas. Actually, we are not a Vedic movement. We are a Puranic movement. But we don't split hairs about that. The whole thing can be described as Vedic because the Puranas describe the essence of the Vedas. But in India, we are not a purely Vedic movement. A purely Vedic movement must deal with the Upanishads, original 4 Vedas, and Vedanta Sutra. Because Vyasadeva wrote the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra holds a very high position. The Puranas are not accepted by the philosophers of the Vedic systems, you see. And so you'll find like Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, they accept Puranas. They accept Puranas. But they do not give much importance to Bhagavat Purana. Much importance. At least they don't put their finger on exactly what this Bhagavat Purana is about, although they all recognize it is the nature of Sapta Brahman. In the first purport, the first verse of Bhagavatam, many of the other Sampradaya Acharyas have indicated that this Bhagavat Purana, it is of the nature of Sapta Brahman, or Brahmagyan, transcendental knowledge. Its whole thing is of the nature of that higher plane of wisdom, knowledge, and realization. But what it is, they fail to put their finger upon it. And thus they emphasize other Puranas, like Vishnu Purana and so forth. They emphasize those Puranas more. So Bhagavatam is indeed a mystery. And Bhagavatam comes into prominence really only after the time of Mahaprabhu. Before Mahaprabhu, although other acharyas commented on it to some extent, and even Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on Bhagavatam, he commented on it to some extent. Still, it remained in obscurity. It was not considered as foremost. But Mahaprabhu declared it is an Amala Purana. It is the fruit of the Vedic literature. It is the essence of all the Vedic literature. So if one is a proper student of the Bhagavatam, then that which the entirety of the Vedas tries to present, one will come to understand that. So much can be said, and seminars and lectures could go on for years together, dealing with so many of the topics in the Bhagavatam. Nonetheless, there is a conclusion of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 2 conclusions in Bhagavatam, ultimately. Although there are 10 divisions, it has its conclusion. It takes us somewhere in the ultimate analysis. And it leaves us with something in the last verse of the Bhagavatam. The last verse. As the first verse Jiva Goswami says the first verse of Bhagavatam is the Samadhi. It is the Samadhi of Vyas. The first verse of the Bhagavatam itself is the entirety of the Bhagavatam. And Srila Prabhupada used to say, I have given you everything in first volume Bhagavatam. This first volume is so important. In 30 years, I mostly give class from the first volume of Bhagavatam. And the most difficult verse to give the class from is the first verse. It is actually the deepest of all the verses. So, similarly, Bhagavad Gita takes us somewhere. There's a conclusion in Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes the tricky question is asked, do you accept the Bhagavad Gita? Oh, yes. What part of it do you reject? Well, nothing. I accept Bhagavad Gita. Do you stare steadily at the tip of your nose? Well, no. You have rejected this instruction of Krishna. Sit back erect and stare steadily at the tip of your nose, Arjuna. No, Krishna, I can't do that. So we accept Bhagavad Gita, not in part, but in its totality. It all came to a conclusion. Many aspects of meditation, yoga, karma yoga, man, so many things were explained there. But it was a progressive conversation. It came to a conclusion, you see. And what Srila Prabhupada used to ask when meeting the quote-unquote Hindu scholars of Bhagavad Gita, what is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? And one time one gentleman said, oh, I didn't know there was a conclusion. Because speculation is always open to speculation, isn't it? Once we impart on speculation, speculation is always open to speculation. Speculation is never conclusive, you see. So conclusion means conclusive, like it's a conclusive knowledge, it's a conclusive conclusion. The last. What is the last of Bhagavad Gita? What is Bhagavad Gita all about? So the verse Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mam Ekam Saranam Braja, this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, to surrender to Krishna. This is considered the conclusion. How many times we have heard this verse? How many times we have quoted this verse? Any regular temple attending devotee, if he even regularly he or she attends for 10 years, you've heard this thousands of times. If you're a preacher, you have quoted it tens of thousands of times. It is the indispensable verse in preaching. Sarva Dharman Prityaja. We hear it again and again. Is that right? Is there no exaggeration? But there is a message within this verse which is brought out in the commentaries of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and a few others, which is very important, it's very intriguing, and it is connected with the Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna at Kurukshetra. And because it is at Kurukshetra, and Jagannath Dev, Rathayatra is that commemorative event, Jagannath going to Kurukshetra, all these things are interlaced, and they are all intertwined, so to speak. They have their external meaning, but it is not external, but it is called as it is. It has its as it is siddhanta. And this is foremost and most important. But the words of Krishna, the activities of Krishna are always twofold. They are what they appear to be, and then there is always another meaning just a little behind. Sometimes it is said the hidden treasure of the absolute truth, the undercurrent. If we place the Bhagavad Gita of Baladev Vijayabhushan and that of Srila Prabhupada side by side, you'll find that they are side by side. You can make a chart of what do you call it? Comparison, and it would be a perfect overlay. See this, perfect overlay. Baladev Vijayabhushan. Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, he dedicates to Baladev Vijayabhushan because that's the that is the Bhagavad Gita, which he found his inspiration in, that led him to initially begin Bhagavad Gita commentary. But if you take the Bhagavad Gita of Baladev and try to do that same comparison with his guru, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, doesn't line up. So there are two schools of thought in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. the as it is, and the hidden truths, the hidden secrets. In Krishna Lila, sometimes Krishna says something. He looks at someone, say, any member of the Vatsalya Rasis or Sakya Rasis, he says something to them. He looks right at them and he says something to them, which has a meaning. The gopis are standing on the side and they hear this, and it's coded. It's a coded conversation that Krishna is having with Baladev. And the gopis hear that conversation, and the outcome of it is a point of rendezvous, point in time. A time and a meeting place is established through another conversation. Sometimes adults will talk in front of children about a family issue, a family problem, something like that. In such a way, the children don't know what they're talking about, you see. So, really, the hidden meaning in Krishna's conversation is actually what Krishna is talking about. And the other one is the secondary. It's like the Sankirtan movement. Some years ago, someone pointed out that a book distribution was a secondary aspect of the Sankirtan movement, and it created a horrific ripple around the world that book distribution and Sankirtan could not possibly be the secondary meaning of the Sankirtan movement. But the whole 4th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Volume 1, 4th chapter, is about that very specific thing. That Mahaprabhu came to this world for 2 reasons. One, to experience the sweet adoration, love, and ecstasy that Radharani feels in connection with Krishna, and that is his primary reason. He is an autocrat and he is for himself. The reason he came is born out of spiritual selfishness. God is for himself. He is the only adorable, selfish, living entity. He is ultimately for himself. And the second reason he appeared was to spread the Yuga Dharma, the Sankirtan movement. You follow? And Srila Prabhupada says it 6 times in that chapter. The primary reason is the Lord's own pleasure. The secondary reason is to deliver the fallen souls. So what happens in the material world? We think we're in the center. We are for God. God is for us. No, we are not in the center. He is in the center. He is for himself. And we cooperate with that, we are saved. He is always for himself. So the primary reason is not easily understood. His secondary reason is to be first, to be embraced. Not that we try to embrace his primary, his inner self reason. We first embrace the secondary reason. If we don't understand him as he is, we won't understand the secrets about him either. So throughout Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there is always a secret. There is always an undercurrent. So Krishna says, Sarva dharman prityaja mam ekam saranam braja. He uses this word braja. In Sanskrit grammar and poetry, there's a rule called alankar. Srila Prabhupada mentions it very briefly, but if you study, Jiva Goswami say, Harinama Amrita Vyakarna, Sanskrit things, which I don't study. I'm not a Sanskritist. But you'll come about this alankar. And it is a way of composing verse, poetic verse, with a hidden inference by using only a syllable or a combination of syllables, meaning according to one level one thing, but in reference to this, it's called inference, it means something different. So Krishna is giving assurance there at Kurukshetra on the Great War that those who surrender to him, Saranagati, leads to Vrindavan, Braja. That is where I am, Krishna says. I surrender to me. Who is the me? Krishna is in Vrindavan. He never leaves Vrindavan. And as we surrender to him, we will be drawn towards Vrindavan. The sweetest conception of the absolute truth is found in Vrindavan. And surrender is the only way to trace out the sweetness of Krishna. Not by knowledge, not even by sacrifice. However, there is no surrender without sacrifice. No one has surrendered yet without a degree of sacrifice. But sacrifice as a standalone, if it is not as a result of surrender, it does not lead to the sweetness of devotion. Therefore, you will see that after many years, some devotees go away. They did sacrifice. They even did the Sankirtan sacrifice. They did many things. They did the kitchen yajna. They did the garden yajna. They did the deity seva. They did yajna. But deep within, Saranagati was not there. Surrender was not there. And thus the sweetness of Krishna did not become known to them. So Krishna in his sweetest manifestation is in Vrindavan. And he is telling Arjuna, through surrender, you will come to me in Vrindavan. So the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is surrender, and the conclusion of surrender, Krishna says, is Braj. And there the highest degree of surrender, which is free, as we were just saying yesterday, from jnana, anya bilasita sunyam, jnana karmani anavritam. Prabhupada had quoted that in the purport. I forgot to even mention it. We were talking about Jnana Mishra, Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, but that was like a little bit new vocabulary. He's saying, Anyabhilasita Sunyam, Jnana Karmani Anavritam. Real, pure devotion is free from jnana and karma. And what it is, this jnana, what it is, this karma. If it is mixed with our devotion, it is not pure devotion, and it is not tasteful to Krishna. Therefore, pure devotion must become our concentrated focus. This pure devotion in its highest expression is found in Vrindavan. And amongst the residents of Vrindavan, it is found in the gopis. Gopi Bharatur Kamalayor Das 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 Anudas. We are the Das 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 Anudas of the who? The gopi people of Vrindavan. So ultimately, Bhagavad Gita, if it was spoken by any other incarnation other than Krishna, it would not lead to Vrindavan. But because it is spoken by Krishna, it must lead to Vrindavan. I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladev, not Baladev, and Jiva Goswami have commented that there is an amsa of Brajanandana, Brajakishore. An amsa means a particle of Vrindavan Krishna is present in Kurukshetra Krishna. Kurukshetra Krishna is out of Vrindavan. That is a Vasudev. That is an expansion. That is not the Adi Swayam Bhagavan. But because this amsa of particle, amsa, part of Vrindavan Krishna is there, then this Vrindavan Krishna, he gives expression in the very last. You come to Vrindavan, you will come to me. Accept my message, accept surrender, and through that you will come to me. That message we were discussing, what is Shiksha? What is Shiksha Guru? That Shiksha must have the ultimate connection with that Parabrahma, with Sapta Brahman. Otherwise, it is not Shiksha, just friendly advice. Someone once advised, I'll give you some Shiksha, try to face east when you sleep. Such Shiksha is not connected to Sapta Brahman. That is a relative type of instruction. You might get a better rest if you put your head east, because there are magnetic forces and there are so many types of things in the world that pull at your energy when you sleep. So sleep east is better. Srila Prabhupada often slept south, just for your information. He liked south. So, but when that shiksha has connection with divinity, and at what level of divinity, then we take that is really shiksha, and that who the imparter of that is shiksha guru. But there is levels of divinity, there is levels of all these things ultimately coming to Krishna. So when the sound is coming down from the highest plane, that is called Satguru. That is called the highest conception of Guru, the highest conception of Shiksha. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks in that way. And lastly, Bhagavad Gita leads us to the Vrindavan conception. Similarly, Bhagavatam, although it speaks about many incarnations, many pastimes, many devotees, the external thing, what the activity is, this is actually secondary, but mostly we take it as primary. And therefore, what the Bhagavatam is about, most people never discover. Of course, as devotees we know that Bhagavatam ultimately is about Krishna. to help us along the way, the artist, they sometimes do their job. And for example, when Prahlad is thrown off of a cliff by Hiranyakashipu in Bhagavatam, right? Then he's caught. Krishna saves him. You have seen the picture? Little Prahlad is floating down and Krishna has caught him. Prahlad never saw Krishna. He's not a devotee of Krishna. He's a devotee of Narayan. He is a devotee of Narasingha. He is a Vaikuntha Bhakta. One cannot have Krishna darshan by the worship of the Narayan avatars. After Prahlad was saved and Hiranyakashipu and all these things were killed, he established a temple called Simachalam. And Srila Prabhupada didn't go there, but once Yashodananda and Guru Kripa, they wrote to Prabhupada, what is this temple? We went to this temple. They say it is established by Prahlad. And as it turns out, it's one of the ancient bona fide temples in India. Simachalam is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu went there. Well, the deity, it's the Narasingha temple. Simha means the lion. Simachalam. So, but when you go there and you see the deity, all you see is a pile of sandalwood paste, which is chipped, and a garland of 108 Shaligram Shilas surrounds the deity. But if you go there on Narasingha Chaturdasi, Chaturdasi, yeah. Then all that thick sandalwood paste is removed, and then you can see the deity if you're prepared to stand in the line about 18 hours in a push and shove situation in the heat of India's summer. Well, a couple million people do that every year. And all the reliefs on the pillars, and everywhere you look, it's Narasingha Dev, it's Narasingha Dev, it's Narasingha. But when you get there, it's Varaha Dev. It's Vishnu with a Varahamukh, with the face of Varaha. Previously to the advent of Narasingha Dev, the demigods used to take shelter of Varaha Dev, because Varaha Dev killed Hiranyaksha, and Narasingha Dev was unknown to the residents of this universe. Similarly, Krishna was also unknown to the residents. Brahma, when Krishna appeared, Brahma did not recognize who is Krishna. He later said, my Lord, if you would have come in your standardized form of Vishnu, we could have recognized you, but in this beautiful two-armed form, we could not recognize you, so surely our offenses against you can be forgiven. Because Brahma challenged Krishna. The father of our Sampradaya, he challenged Krishna. So the Krishna conception was not known in the time of Prahlad. And so Prahlad is a Vaikuntha devotee. He is not a devotee of Vrindavan proper. So, but many such stories are in Bhagavatam. So what is Bhagavatam really about? But in each pastime and story, there is an internal message also. And Prahlad is almost foremost. Prahlad marks the threshold of pure devotion. What is pure devotion? Not mixed with any knowledge and not mixed with any material desire. Prahlad, he is simply surrendered before the Lord. You make me or mar me, but I am in your hands. So Prahlad is a superstar personality on the path of devotion, because he is at the door, and his example must be revered, and we must take Prahlad in great aspiration. Give me a drop of even this type of purity and surrender. He marks the beginning of surrender, and the highest plane of surrender that is marked by the gopis of Braj. Prahlad himself and the process, Prahlad recommends that from here you should go to Hanuman. Prahlad recommends Hanuman. Prahlad is a Shantaras Bhakta. His surrender is in neutrality. And Prahlad says, actually, the real devotee of Bhagavan is Hanuman, because Hanuman is always engaged in service. He is always engaged in the Lord's sweet service. Hanuman says, actually, Yes, I am engaged in service, but the Pandavas, they have friendship. They have friendship with Krishna. That is superior. Their service has reached to a level of intimacy and love and friendship. The Lord is their friend. The Lord has become their friend. So then Narada Muni goes and sees the Pandavas. And Yudhisthira tells him, and it is true. Oh, by the way, this what I'm telling you will be soon given out by BBT soon. It's a Brihat Bhagavatam Amrita under production. You'll be able to read the whole wonder of for yourself soon. But Narada Muni, Yudhisthira tells him, yes, we have friendship, but it is quite distant type friendship we have with Krishna. On the other hand, Uddhava is a very intimate friend of Krishna. And he is so intimate that Krishna cannot pass any day without Uddhava. Whereas Krishna has left us to wander in the forest sometimes for months on end. And in the end, he left us in Hastinapur and he went back to live in Dwarka. But Uddhava, he never separates himself from Uddhava. So Uddhava, he has friendship with Krishna, but in deeper affection and love. So Narada Muni goes to see Uddhava. And it is said that Uddhava he is Sakya Ras with a mixture of Vatsalya Ras and just a touch of essence of Madhurya Ras. He has some connection. Krishna sends Uddhava as a messenger to Vrindavan. So Uddhava says, yes, I have great intimacy with Krishna, but I can tell you that Krishna never forgets the gopi people of Vrindavan for even a moment. They have captured his heart. They are the Lord's dearmost devotees. And so lastly, Narada Muni is sent to Vrindavan to understand what is the highest pinnacle of devotion and love. So Bhagavatam must ultimately take us to that plane, and it does. In the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, we enter into the descriptions of Vrindavan, Krishna in Vrindavan. It is said that one should be in very careful study through all 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam and not try to become a student of 10th canto of Bhagavatam before going through all 9 cantos. And in the 2nd canto it is said, until you are free from lusty desire, sex desire, you should not go past even 2nd canto of Bhagavatam. It is mentioned there in 2.12. Yeah, it is there. Huh? Oh, so then how we will go on. Prabhupada kept going, giving Bhagavatam. But the Bhagavatam ultimately takes us to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, the Bhagavatam ultimately takes us to the highest conception in Vrindavan, known as Mukhya Ras. It takes us to the Madhurya Ras, is the highest conception. The Vedic scholars argue that there is no such thing as Madhurya Ras. And they argue, what to speak of Parakiya in Madhurya? They say that this is a complete concoction and that there is also no such thing as Raga Marg. Raganuga Bhakti doesn't exist. It only exists really in one Sampradaya, and that is in Gaudiya Sampradaya, Mahaprabhu. Before that, everything is Vaidhi Marg. Vallabhacharya stole various concepts from the Rupa and Sanatan and presented what's called Pushti Marg. And in Rupa Goswami even acknowledges it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He acknowledges Pushti Marg as being a Raga Marg practice, but it is stolen. It only comes from Mahaprabhu, this Raga Marg, Raganuga, comes from Mahaprabhu. So the highest plane of love is Madhurya Ras, and it is in spontaneous love, and it is taken one step further. It is in Parakiya Ras, and it is taken even one step further. That is called Prema Vivarta Vichitra. And that is union and separation in Parakiya Ras. And we are still struggling with learning to chant the Maha Mantra purely. That is the reality. Knowing something of the higher world will help us in that struggle. But thinking that we can simply enter that world with our baggage of anarthas on our back and our filthy, muddy shoes is the greatest mistake we've ever made in our eternal existence. So once coming to Krishna consciousness, which is the better decision we've ever made in so many millions of lifetimes, we should not then bring that to spoil by then going so fast ahead that we again fall on our face by making offenses. Every devotee should be very happy to have come in connection with the holy name of Krishna and volumes of literature to guide us towards that ultimate perfection and ultimate love. And take that step by step. So, Bhagavatam takes us to Vrindavan. As it is mentioned, the name of Radharani cannot be found anywhere in the Bhagavatam. So where is the proof that Radharani even exists? What to speak of? She is the principal queen of Vrindavan. But actually, in a secret way, according to this Alankar, which I mentioned earlier, Radharani is mentioned 6 times in Bhagavatam, 6 or 8 times in Bhagavatam, but only in a secret way. Mostly with the use of the word aradhana. Means to perform worship. In the word aradhana, the word radha is the central part. And here's something I wanted to mention. Many times that we have mentioned about the 10 offenses to the holy name. We have read them, we have heard about them, we have studied about them. That is called aparad. Appa, radha. It is a combination of 2 words, the name of Radharani, Radha, and appa. It means against. Aparad is that which is against the that which is against Srimati Radharani. That is aparad. So offense in devotion, that is aparad. She is devotion. She is the energy of devotion. She is the mother of devotion. And therefore, offense, what we say offense in English, is called aparad, that which is against Srimati Radharani. There's a book floating around here called The Heart of Krishna. The first paragraph of that book begins with this explanation, from where this word has come and what it means, aparad. So, Bhagavatam brings us to the Vrindavan conception of surrender and sweet love in devotion and spontaneous love. And the different types of love are revealed there all the way to this Parakiya Ras. And there, Radharani is the supreme queen. She is not a Swakiya like the queens in Vrindavan. She is a Parakiya. So Parakiya, the supreme standing of love, is shown in Bhagavatam. But it is not accepted by any other school or Vaishnav school except the Gaudiya school. Bhagavatam is for the Gaudiya school. It is the book of the Gaudiyas, the principal book, and this is pointed out by Mahaprabhu. Now, in an argument with others, they'll say, no, this Raganuga, there's no evidence, no Madhurya, never, Parakiya. They'll just blow it right out the door. Lakshmi Narayan. This is the supreme love for God, Lakshmi Narayan. Mahaprabhu asked one great Pandit in South India, if that be true, why did Lakshmi leave Narayan and go to perform austerities to enter Vrindavan, to enter Rasa Leela? And better yet, why even after doing that was she not allowed? What mistake did she make? Lakshmi could not enter the Rasa Leela. And that Brahman, his story is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he didn't know what to say. And there it is shown that because she did not adore the mood of the gopis, she did not follow in their footsteps, even she did great austerities, even she's qualified as Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who always is there on the chest of Lord Narayan. She did not qualify for the Rasa Leela because she did not follow in the mood of the gopis. So, so people will say, but yet all Acharyas say, this Bhagavatam is of the nature of Sapta Brahman. These great Acharyas have been gifted with this much perception of Bhagavatam, that it has the nature of the highest plane of divinity. But what the Bhagavatam is about in the undercurrent is hidden from them. So they conclude that Narayan is the supreme. The Ashraya Tattva of the Bhagavatam, the 10th division of Bhagavatam, the Ashraya Tattva, this is about Narayan. And Krishna is an avatar. We are the only ones who say Krishna Stu Bhagavan Svayam means that Krishna is the origin. All other Vaishnava communities argue about that. Even the Madhva, particularly the Madhva Sampradaya, they're uncomfortable with that. Some years ago they printed a challenge. They said the followers of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada will have to answer to Madhva about this interpretation. If you want to see how we answered, there's a whole website for that, dealing with the Madhva Sampradaya, answering their challenge. If you say Prabhupada said, then they will just go, that is only an in-house evidence. Prabhupada said, that is wonder. But outhouse evidence doesn't matter to them. They will quote, Madhva said, they'll say so many said. And then a great argument may be waged there. So, if Bhagavatam, but they do, are you following, or is this getting too complicated? They say that it is of the nature of the Sabda Brahman, transcendental sound. And we say that transcendental message comes to Vrindavan. Then there is a challenge that comes, because the Vedas came from somewhere. In the ontology of the Vedas are born from a mantra. First existed a mantra, one mantra. From that mantra, the Vedas are all born, ultimately, in time. That doesn't mean the mantra was there and then all the other sounds just came out. But by meditation on the mantra, then something came forth from that person. And the Vedas have been coming to the world like this for kalpas even. So it comes back to the mother of the Vedas, and that is known as Brahmagayatri. Gayatri. Those of you who are the Brahmins, Om Bhur Bhuva Shva Tat Savitur. This mantra, this is the mother of the Vedas. From this sound, this is Veda Mata. From this sound, all the Vedas have evolved. All. They've all come from there. Vedic literature has come from this mantra, Veda Mata. So, the argument comes to this, that if, and it's not that we just say that Bhagavatam comes to Vrindavan. We say Bhagavatam is the commentary on Vedanta. Vedanta is the culmination of all the Vedas. And the purport of the Vedanta is the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam comes to the be-all and end-all of the highest existence in the absolute truth. It's not that it just comes to Vrindavan and we'll be satisfied that, yes, we got Vrindavan Conception over here. We're saying that that Vrindavan Conception is above all. It is above everything. So then they say, and you say in that conception that the gopis are the highest plane of love. You also say Mahaprabhu is the highest avatar of love. Then all these things you must prove exist in the Brahmagayatri mantra. This mantra, you have to squeeze out somehow that Bhagavatam, Vrindavan, Radha, and Mahaprabhu are the meaning of the Brahmagayatri mantra. And yes, that is done by our acharyas, starting with Jiva Goswami. There's a book over here on the shelf called Gayatri Mantrartha Dipika. If you look at it, it is not a light reading material, but it is all shown. And in one little place in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says, Brahmagayatri worships Mahaprabhu. The word Savitur in Brahmagayatri means Mahaprabhu. So how it is all explained is there in writings of our previous acharyas and in some of our current acharyas and preachers in the Parampara of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. So, for the most part, for most devotees, it is not so important because the devotees follow they're just natural heartfelt inclination. And that is what all this is about. Now you are facing a challenge. You must know so many things just to defend your natural heart's inclination and faith. And this happens again and again and again. And after establishing great wisdom and great knowledge, the conclusion is, it is all about a natural heartfelt inclination, you see. But then when that thrives and flourishes for so long, then come the enemies. Gyan begins to make a circle around that, like the Indians used to surround the cowboys. And it attacks that, you see. And therefore, from time to time, great scholars of inconceivable wisdom, they manifest, like Jiva Goswami. Great preachers like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Great preachers like Prabhupada. He went out and faced the physics, scientific world alone and just pushed it back and back and back to the point that he had thousands of educated men and women just laughing at science, laughing in the face of science, you see. So, but what was all that back? Just to push that back, clear the land for what? Natural, spontaneous devotion. Sometimes Prabhupada would point to the highest plane of devotion and express, oh, it is Raganuga. Sometimes, or it is, you are a pure devotee of Krishna. He would say sometimes something to a devotee or a disciple, and the thing they were doing was something very, very simple. But being a man of that status, he focused on that. Putting an artik tray away in the terms of doing service to the deity or doing something, he would focus directly there and make compliment to that devotee. Oh, this is pure devotion. Oh, you have achieved Raganuga. Sometimes he would say that. Very, very rarely. Very, very rarely. But he would see that. And that particular devotee may not be able to give shastric explanation to all the things that can be said about that highest plane of love and devotion. But the fact is, their heart is there. They are willing to do that, and they are doing that with all love and affection for their guru, and that is Raganuga. But they might not know so much of the complexities of Ras and Abhas and so many, many things. But all those things, again, are just to come to that one simple point of natural, spontaneous love. It is said that this love of God lies dormant in our heart like fire is in this wood. It's like, I don't feel any fire here. It seems quite dry. But yet, we can watch fire burn from that wood. It is there. But the microscope cannot see it. It is hard to trace. But yet, the fire is there in the wood. And similarly, love of God lies dormant deep within the heart of all living beings. The process to awaken that and cultivate that love from a spark to a flame to a raging fire. So, Prabhupada used to give example, in connection with fire, we develop the quality of fire. And there's only one, this thing will lay here until they come back from Mars, and it will not burst into flames. But if it is brought in connection with fire, where fire is burning, then it will burst into flames. So, this verse that was chosen today is a lot about sadhu sangha. If we are in connection with those who are burning in love of Krishna, boom, we will burst ourselves into that plane. Whether or not we can explain it is secondary. And ultimately, it is irrelevant. Yet from time to time, we come under vicious attack. Oh, what you have is nothing. Prabhupada did not give you everything. He only gave you ABC. As I said the other day, Krishna says, of the letters of the alphabet, I am A. Be happy he gave you A. And Z, that is a crooked thing. Be careful about Z. You may think you have Z, but you got 0. Who thinks he has Z got 0. Who thinks they have A, he has Krishna. So, now, Jagannath, Rathayatra, what is it? What is it all about? It is also about Vrindavan. It is about the Vrindavan Conception. One level, we heard how there's one king, Indradumna. He wants to make deity. He calls, who do you call? Vishvakarma. He calls Vishvakarma. Vishvakarma agrees, yes, I will make deity. But you cannot look. Only, I will work, you should not look. So daily, Indradumna, I think it's Indradumna, right? He hears the tapping of the mystery inside, working away, carving away. Suddenly, one day there is silence. He doesn't hear anything. The silence is the loudest thing you ever heard, isn't it? Silence sometimes can be so unnerving. being patient in dead silence. So finally, he couldn't tolerate the silence anymore. And he opened the door. At that minute, Vishvakarma simply left, and he left the deities unfinished. He left there. Then we were told, but Indraduna he accepted. So that is a secondary appearance. And for many, that's how Lord Jagannath appeared. But that is secondary. Lord Jagannath appeared in Dwarka, in another plane, at another time, in the Leela of Krishna. Lord Jagannath is known as Vipralamba Murti. He is the shape, form, and beauty of separation. So what happened, and it is coming to you soon, by the grace of BBT and Brihat Bhagavatam Amrita. In Dwarka, Krishna heard some talk was going on in another room. The nature of that talk is different types. After Kamsa was killed, Kamsa, Krishna had to take care of Kamsa's mother. Poor mother of Kamsa. So Krishna took Kamsa's mother to Dwarka, and he kept her there. She lived there. But she was a very condescending type of lady. And she would often criticize. Different things would happen. And she would note that Krishna, he has so much concern and he can't seem to free himself from remembering these gopi people, the gopis and gopas of Vrindavan. So she would sometimes criticize what these people did for Krishna. They couldn't even dress him properly, running around barefooted. So they used to gag that woman and put her in a closet, because this would create a problem if Krishna was to hear this. So there was different types of talk always going on about Vrindavan in Dwarka, because from time to time things would happen with Krishna in Dwarka in relation to that Vrindavan, and thus it was all, he would make a statement, he would do something. There was always something, and every day there was something. So one day the queens were discussing why Krishna is drawn to this Vrindavan thing, and they began to describe Vrindavan, the place of his pastimes, and the nature of the love of those people in Vrindavan for him. Now in that Krishna in Dwarka, who is a Vasudeva expansion of Krishna in Vrindavan, also lives an Amsa of Vrindavan Krishna, because he is connected there. I mentioned the other day how Durga, in Durga Purana, she shouts out at one point, "I am Radha of Braj." She shouts and faints. Durga. She shouts this out because she is like way down the line, even from Parvati, way down the line. But down the line means it's still the line. From Radha comes the queens in Dwarka, and then the queens in Vaikuntha, the Lakshmis, and then comes Parvati, and all the Devis, who are the Devis Saraswati, Lakshmi, all of them coming down in the world, they're all ultimately an expansion far, far away. There is Vrindavan and the principal queen, Sladini Shakti. So some small little Amsa, and at one point that Amsa expresses itself. I am the Radha. It's like, oh, this Radha, no. So Krishna also in Dwarka, some Amsa, some part of Krishna in Braj, it is found there. And it is sometimes expressing, when he heard the conversation about Vrindavan and the love of the gopis, then he entered into the deep mood of separation, and he fainted. And they heard a thump on the floor. And then somebody opened the door. Actually, the first person to enter the room was Baladev. And what he saw was Krishna's arms had drawn inside of his body. His eyes had opened up and consumed the size of his face. And his legs had just shriveled in. Mahaprabhu sometimes did this. No one has seen except some of the Lord's own eternal associates, but it is mentioned. How is it possible? The arms draw inside the body. It is something else. And all that was left was these little hands. And Balaram saw that, and he fainted. Boom. And he fell there, and the same thing. He entered deep into the Vrindavan mood, remembering Vrindavan. And the next person to enter the room was Subhadra, and the same thing happened to her. And they fell there together, three, in this form that you see here. Eyes are very big and fixed in a gaze, frozen. Vipralamba Murti. That happened in eternal pastimes in Dwarka. Then, I don't know all the details of that, but to bring Krishna out of that mood, they devised a great plan. And slowly, they brought Krishna to a chariot. They brought him to a chariot. That your chariot is ready. You're going to Braj. You're going to Vrindavan. And slowly they got Krishna to come out of this mood and to mount his chariot. Yes, I'm going to Vrindavan. I'm going to Vrindavan. And that is Rathayatra. Jagannath is taking us to Vrindavan. And who knows this? Only Mahaprabhu really knows this. And after he knows this, who are his servants? They have some experience with this. Again, it is this vicarious experience. Through him, devotion to him. What is his experience? Just a drop of it is all that's required. Not a cup of it. Just a small drop of it. If it falls on us, that is eternal perfection beyond even the imagination of the demigods. Even Lord Shiva, he is wondering about this. With 4 heads, Brahma wonders about this. With 5 heads, Shiva wonders about this. Narada Muni even wonders about this. But with just a drop of that falls upon us from Mahaprabhu, we may enter into the experience. So Mahaprabhu, he was in the mood, dancing in front of Jagannath, always pulling him towards Vrindavan, Because who is he? He is Krishna, but what mood? The mood of Radharani. Come to Vrindavan, come back to Vrindavan. In the great city of Puri, which sometimes eludes us, what is Jagannath Puri? But it is the most inconceivable holy place on this planet, actually. And what was manifest there in the form of Jagannath, in the form of Mahaprabhu's presence of Jagannath, is something that only the most advanced scriptures in the world just point towards. The mood of Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, in front of Jagannath. So he's calling to Jagannath, come to Vrindavan. He's drawing him to Vrindavan. Sometimes Jagannath becomes stunned by the whole event. The Rath cart stops. People pull. King Prataparudra brings elephants, and they pull and the whippers are the king said move, and the elephants aren't moving it. So the fear grips the heart of the Mahut. His head will be in the noose. Move! He beats those elephants till they're crying. They can't move that cart. Mahaprabhu goes behind and puts his head on it and pushes that cart. And it takes 1,000 people at least to budge that cart. And he pushes it with his head, and people simply carry the ropes on their shoulders. And the ropes are looped like this, like flower garlands, and Mahaprabhu pushes. And at a point, it's just simply going. The power of Mahaprabhu. These were the wonders they saw at the Rathayatra. And the place where he goes, Gundicha, that is Vrindavan. It is considered to be Vrindavan, a garden of Vrindavan. Then Jagannath is taken in that garden by his servants, and Mahaprabhu performs his Sankirtan Leela all around that. First he goes to a temple of Lord Narasingha, which is just on the side of Gundicha. Some people say it is folly. If you want to enter Braj, you simply focus on gopis and manjaris and you enter Braj. I think maybe Mahaprabhu had another estimation of that. After getting Krishna to Vrindavan in Gundicha, where he'll be served his meals and all these things, he took the Harinam party and went just around the corner of the wall. And you start down the western wall of Gundicha, and there's a very ancient Narasingha temple where Lord Narasingha is sitting like this. In Yoga Narasingha, he's sitting like this. And Mahaprabhu would go in and perform ecstatic Sankirtan with the devotees. And then they moved off to other gardens and other places, you see. So, although Lord Narasingha is not worshipped by the gopis, he's not worshipped in Vrindavan, Lord Narasingha has a very special feature for the devotees of Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu also, very special connection is there for Narasinghadev in Gaur Leela. Not in Krishna Leela, in Gaur Leela. But Gaur Leela is higher than Krishna Leela, actually. The Leela of Mahaprabhu is not some lower thing to take you to the higher thing. It is a higher thing. Krishna Leela requires so much qualification to enter. So much qualification, it is almost hopeless. But Mahaprabhu's Leela is called Odarya. Krishna, Madhurya, Mahaprabhu, Odarya. Odarya is magnanimity added to Madhurya Ras. When magnanimity, grace, and affection for all living beings is added to the Madhurya Ras, that becomes Chaitanya Leela. Magnanimity added to Madhurya, Odarya. So Bhagavad Gita takes us to Vrindavan. Srimad Bhagavatam takes us to Vrindavan. Our mantras, Gayatri mantras, Brahmagayatri, Guru Gayatri, Gaur Gayatri, Gopal mantra. Sometimes you're put on the spot about Gopal mantra. Do you know what is this Gopal mantra? They'll say, do you know? Oh, no, I don't know. That is your Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Balabhaya. This is Gopal mantra. It is just another name there. You have got Gopal mantra who are Brahmins. You are chanting Gopal mantra. Someone else is saying, do you know Gopal mantra? All game playing, just to throw you off on your side, you see. But then again, if you don't take the trouble to know what you're involved with, that also can be dangerous. Like, if nobody tells you what a razor blade is, you can cut yourself. If nobody tells you what a gold coin is, you may leave it on a park bench, thinking it the same as a quarter. You know, if you don't know what you have, that could also become a defect, you see. In the Madhyamadhikari stage, it is good to know what we have been given, you see. So, but then sometimes it comes, we begin to think we weren't even given it. Or some people think you weren't given it because you don't seem to know anything about it. Like that. Sometimes it goes. So some deeper understanding, it is good for us in both ways. It will help to protect what is natural, and it will help what is natural to grow towards its perfection. So all the things, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Gayatri mantra, all of our mantras, and Rathayatra, Jagannath Dev himself, taking us to the Vrindavan Conception. Vrindavan, the sweetest land of love, where God is a slave of love. He is a slave of love. He is a connoisseur of love. He himself surrenders to love and wants to taste only love. So therefore, the old hippie adage, God is love, yeah. God is subservient to love himself, you see. That is Vrindavan, that is Rathayatra, that is Bhagavatam, that is Gayatri, that is Bhagavad Gita. And all of it in one mantra, Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Jagannath Deva ki jai. Jagannath Subhadra Baladeva ki jai. Radha Bana Bihari Ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Parampara ki jai. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So what is the time?
8:30.
All right, so short-winded. I warned I'm running out of things to say.
Sorry. You said there were two conclusions of the Bhagavatam, and I didn't quite get clear on what the second one was.
That Narayana is Ashraya Tattva. That's one conclusion. That's the conclusion drawn by all the other sampradayas, that Narayana is the supreme shelter. And the other conclusion was first drawn by Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami, if you go in a Ramanuja Sampradaya somewhere, and it so happens you talk about Bhagavatam, you mention Sridhar Swami, they come here, Mayavad. Mayavad. Because there are seemingly some Mayavad things. Sridhar Swami was in a Mayavad Sampradaya, apparently. Mahaprabhu has accepted Sridhar Swami's commentary, not because of the tit-for-tat, everything along the way. In the last, Sridhar Swami declares that Krishna is the Ashraya Tattva. And this was this was, in other words, the Mayavadis say that they don't usually touch Bhagavatam, but they do. And when they do, it's Brahman, which is the Asraya, you see. Then the Vaishnavas touch it, they say it is Narayan is the Asraya. Well, Sridhar Swami, who comes from the Mayavad school, he went right past Brahman Tattva and Narayan Tattva, and he brought it to Krishna Tattva. And because of that, Mahaprabhu accepts the value of Sridhar Swami, the original commentator, as the foundation. And when Ballabhacharya rejected Sridhar Swami, meaning Ballabhacharya had shown many ways, it is all the way, it is only Krishna, only devotion, only Krishna, only devotion, but he only drew it up to Vatsalya Ras just because he rejected Sridhar Swami. He could not see the beauty, he could not see the contribution of Sridhar Swami, the original commentator. Mahaprabhu rejected him. He rejected his commentary. Ballabhacharya's commentary was rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was the only thing. That's what I was saying. Two differences.
You were also talking, you were mentioning that as Vaishnavas or Gaudiya Vaishnavas generally were not focused on or so concerned with the worship of Vishnu avatars, with the exception of Sri Nrsingadev. So I was thinking maybe you could elaborate on that. What Lord Nrsingadev represents for the Vaishnavas.
Well, we see that it's very peculiar. In the community of devotees, which preaches the most about Gopi Bhav, do you know what community that is? Or should I mention them by name? They have in their mother temple in Navadvip a deity of Lord Varaha, nearly 6 foot tall, established by Keshav Maharaj. The worship of Lakshmi Varaha is on their extreme left altar. He is more than 6 feet tall with a face sideways like this. And I can't remember, I think his arm is like this, and Lakshmi is sitting on his armor. It's not just Varaha alone, it's Lakshmi Varaha. In the mother temple, where we are being told in Western countries that even chanting the Narasingha mantras after the Mangala Arti is wrong, in that very temple, the Mangala Arti also includes an Arti to Lakshmi Varaha. So they are trying to make us as fools, you see. And I've been there many times. And it's not that door is closed in Mangala Arti. No, it is 3 altars. I forget how it goes there. Everything about, but you remember seeing Varahadev. So that island, that's called Koladweep, and that island has some connection with Varahadev. But I don't know all about what that connection is, but I know that Varahadev is there. In Srila Sridhar Maharaj's ashram, there is a Varaha Shaligram, which is worshipped in his ashram there, and speciality, a special sweet rice is a special offering to that Varaha Shila there. So Keshav Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they are also Rasika Bhaktas, and they had Shaligram, they also had deity of Varaha. So from a simple example right there, deep within the Gaudiya family, they are also worshipping. They are offering arti, they are offering bhog, some special offering. But that is not their super pradhan ishtadeva, I mean their central foremost deity, you see. Just like there are many shaligram. But what is foremost is Govardhan. Pradhan Shila means the primary principal one, you see. So superior in our line to the worship of Shaligram is the worship of Govardhan. But in all the temples, and Prabhupada has written, he will introduce, and once the Shaligram will be worshipped in temples. In one place, he even writes it's more advanced in the worship of Radha and Krishna. Yeah, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When he says he will introduce it, he mentions it's more advanced. So generally, all Shaligrams are Vishnu Tattva. However, when Ramdas Prabhu's Guru Maharaj used to see Shaligram, he would sometimes say, oh, Radha Krishna. There is no Radha Krishna Shaligram in the Garuda Purana and so forth. He even told, oh, it is Gaur Nitai. See the golden line, Mahaprabhu. So, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Shaligram is no exception to that. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami worshipped Shaligram, and Krishna came out of the Shaligram, this much big, beautiful Krishna, Radha Raman. And half Shaligram here, half Shaligram here. But generally, Shaligram is Vaidhi mark, not Raganuga mark. But if a Raganuga Bhakta worships Shaligram, Krishna must be there, just like the gopis. Or when Krishna tried to appear in front of Radharani as Vishnu, he could not hold that position. And that had to just tremble and shake and came into this position. So, in general, the devotee, a Raganuga Bhakta may see Shaligram and see wonderful things in Shaligram, sometimes even Mahaprabhu, even Gaur Nitai, even Radha Govinda he may find there. According to Vidhi, there is no such thing as a Radha Krishna Shaligram, you see. But his vision is not, his vision is beyond that, and so Krishna must be drawn to that. At the same time, a Raganuga Bhakta may say the worship of Govardhan should take prominence if he sees that the devotees are being like kind of carried away, worshipping different avatars, and he reads in that, no, actually their focus of their devotion is being splayed. So then he will draw that back and say, no, only this, you see. Well, that is there too. That isn't there in a bona fide thing. Ultimately, what form of the Lord should we worship? And the answer is, and I'm pretty sure it's mentioned by Srila Prabhupada, the answer is, whatever form of the Lord your Guru gives you to worship, that's what you should worship.